First in our series on how to cut the time it takes to ship your show is seasons. Seasons are the great time saver, okay? So there's 4 elements to this I want to go through. First of all, we've got planning nirvana, all right? The planning is just so much easier with seasons. You just think about a topic, okay? Pick a bigger topic within your niche. So with podcasting, for example, our how to podcast topic, we might think how to choose the right equipment, okay? That's a really common topic. How do you choose the right gear, the right equipment for podcasting? We're all geeks, we like shiny things, don't we? Microphones. So you think of that, but then you break it down into a season, all right? So equipment breaks down into how to find the best mic, how to find the best recorder, what's the best recording software, what's the best editing software, what's the best call recording software, that kind of stuff. You know, you break it down. So we can end up with maybe 8, 9, 10 episodes which break down all of the parts of the season. And of course, we then think, right, we'll flesh each one out. So we do a bullet point list where we flesh them out. We think, right, so mics, we do 5, 10 bullet points in there. And then we go recorders, we do 5, 10 bullet points in there. And after just 20, 30 minutes, you suddenly have a plan for your entire season, okay? You only have to spend 20, 30 minutes. I can often do a season in 10, 15 minutes if I know the topic well. If I need to do a bit more research, it might take 30 at the most. But that activity, that planning activity, planning out the entire season means that then next Monday you turn up and think, right, I've got to record. So what am I going to record? And all you do is you pull out your season plan and you pick the next episode on there and you start recording and it's done. So the plan is done. No more casting around for topics every single Monday morning, whatever it is. You know what you want to do next. The planning is all done, okay? Next, we have better batching. Okay, so because you've got this season ahead of time, you can then batch that recording. So say you've got a 12 episode season, that'll be 3 months, once per week. Take the first 4 and record them all at once. Now, sometimes not so easy if it's an interview show or if it's a really long show. But if you do a show like Podcraft, Matthew and I often record 2 or 3 episodes at once. Just the 2 of us doing a 15, 20-minute episode. So we spend an hour, maybe 2 at the most, recording 2, 3, even 4 episodes. So if you plan ahead with a season, you know what you're going to cover. Batching becomes so much easier, and batch recording and then batch editing is so much more efficient, so much more easy than casting around and doing that every single time during, every week when you have to do it. Next, we have listener-created content. We all know listener-created content is really good. Like, you want to get your listener voices in there. We ask for voicemails. We ask people to send us in tweets. We ask us to send people, send them in emails, send us some questions, let us answer, do a Q&A, that kind of thing. Voicemails are so good. If you can get something like a tool like SpeakPipe or something similar. Skype even does a voicemail service. Skype's a bit old-fashioned, but they still have a voicemail. You can get those voicemails, put them onto your show. The trouble is that getting that stuff in sort of drip feeding every week, it can be a bit hard to work with. You're trying to keep track of it, you're trying to bring it in every week, you're trying to manage it all over months of running your podcast. But if you do seasons, the end of the season, you say, right, we're off for 4 weeks, we're off for 6 weeks, we're off for 8 weeks. Over the next 8 weeks, what I want to do is I want to run a Q&A on the next season. So send in your questions to this SpeakPipe address, this Skype number, send them into this email, that Twitter, and then you just ignore them for maybe 4 weeks. And then 4, 5, 6 weeks in, you collect them all together. You spend a day collecting them all together. And again, it's batch work, okay? Doing it all at once, picking out all those questions, and then organize them into the next season so much quicker, so much more efficient. That listener content suddenly becomes manageable, okay? Next one, listener-directed content. This is slightly different, but again, at the end of the season, you can help your listeners help you by asking them, right, I'm off, again, off for 4 weeks, off for 8 weeks. What do you want to hear about on the next season? What are you struggling with just now? What are your barriers? What topic do you want me to cover? What questions do you want me to answer? And you ask them to do that. And over the next 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is, they send them all in. And then during that break, you start to gather them together, and then that directs what you put in your next season. So many benefits to that. The audience feel like you're listening to them, you're engaging with them, so they engage more with you, they're more loyal to you. The audience feel more ownership over that season, so they're more likely to listen to every single episode because they feel like they've had some control in it. It's so good. Also, you're just creating content that they want to hear. You know, if you actually ask them and then you answer what they're asking, you know fine you're creating good content that's relevant to them, that really means something to them, that they can do something with. So that's listener-directed content as well. So seasons, so good, much quicker planning, much easier planning, less stress when you go to record every single week. Then you've got, better batching, so you can batch things ahead, so you don't have to just do it every single week, feel like you're on a treadmill. And then that listener content, whether it's listener created content, batching them all sending you in some voicemails to answer, or whether it's listener directed content, batching them sending in suggestions for you to cover on the next season. Okay, so I hope that gave you an idea. Please do hit that subscribe button on our channel if you've enjoyed this content to get the rest of this series. I'm going to do 9 or 10 videos all on how to cut the time it takes to ship your show. Make it easier for you to create your show, less time on planning, recording, editing, production. I'm going to do a bunch of videos on this. So make sure you hit subscribe and that little alert button, whatever it is, to make sure you get told by YouTube when new videos come out. And of course, you can see some resources down in the description if you want some links to anything. We've got some articles around how to work with seasons, how to do batch creation, all that kind of stuff. Check down there in that description and you'll see some links to some great articles on thepodcasthost.com. And of course, the one way to make it the most easy to create your podcast in the least possible time is our tool Alitu. So Alitu is our podcast maker tool, which helps you create your videos. Helps you create your podcast in a much shorter time. You can record in there with call recording. It does all the audio cleanup for you. You can do your editing in there in our custom podcast editor, and you can then produce it and publish it to Alitu hosting. Alitu is the only thing you need. It's all in one for podcasters, and it makes it much easier and much quicker to create your podcast. So I'd love it if you check that out. Go over to alitu.com, alitu.com. All right, I'll talk to you in the next one.